Good morning, everyone. We are together. We have gathered on this virtual platform for a very burning topic today. Recent changes in GST returns and newly introduced utility template Form 2B. Our LNR team and we were discussing that how should we go ahead. We need to have a good session on this. And then the obvious question came was that who could be the person who would guide us through this? And we thought that why can't we have somebody from the GST network, that the institution who has brought out these changes, if somebody representing the institution himself can come over and guide us through the changes, that would be nothing like it. So for the same reason, we have Shri Sarthak Ji Saxena sir with us. He is OSD to CEO of GST Network. We welcome Sarthak Ji to our platform.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a small introduction of ours to you, GST Practitioners Association of Maharashtra, formerly known as Sales Tax Practitioners Association of Maharashtra. It is a 69 years old association, and it is a premier body of indirect tax practitioners, and it is also a parent body of all the Regional Practitioners Association of Maharashtra. With this small introduction of ours, we welcome you to GSTPM.
Thank you.
Without wasting much time, I request Joint Convener of Law and Representation Committee, Aditya Surte, to formally introduce today's speaker, Sarthak Ji Saxena. Aditya, please.
Thank you, President, sir. It is my honor to introduce our today's speaker, Mr. Sarthak Saxena. He is a civil engineer and IRS Customs and Central Excise Officer of the 2012 batch. He was posted in Pune, Maharashtra for 3 years as Assistant Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner. He has worked for implementation in key areas of GST, including taxpayer facilitation, grievance redressal, and coordination of CGST and Central Excise with Maharashtra State GST officials. Then in May 2018, he was posted as officer on special duty to CEO of GSTN. In addition to his role as OSD, he is in charge of key components in the return module. He is also involved with Sunrise projects like the e-invoice project, which is coming up on 1st of October now. He has been working on enhancements in the GST returns as per the GST Council's decisions. He represents the GST network at the GST Council meetings. He also represents the GST network at the GST Law Committee, GST Core Group, and other forums. He has been doing data sharing and coordination of GSTN with various government departments and agencies at the center and state or union territory level. He is a key capacity building resource at GSTN, having conducted numerous outreach and capacity building sessions for the tax officers of the center and states and UTs and the trade and industry across India. With this introduction, I'm sure all of you realize that we have as a speaker today a very resourceful person. I hope all of us benefit from his knowledge of the subject. With this, I request the speaker, Sri Sarthak Saxena, to continue.
Yes, just a small instruction to all the participants that I see a lot of hands being raised. So if you all have any questions, so after the presentation is over, you can right now also you can put your questions during the presentation is going on in the question tab, which is there on the right side corner. And in the end, after the presentation is over, we'll be taking up all the questions. Yeah, thank you. Go ahead, sir. The floor is all yours, Sarthak.
I'll switch off my camera now in case
yes, sure.
Some people have lower bandwidth, so it would be easier for screen sharing. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining on a Saturday morning. As you all know that recently GSTN has implemented a few changes in the system. I'll take you through that. I'm not able to see that option of sharing my screen. Yeah. Here it is.
Yeah, it is sharing. We can see the
Yeah.
screen.
Here it is. Yeah. Is a press release visible on the screen?
Yes. It is visible.
Okay, all right. So I'll just before giving you the before formally taking you through the presentation, I just wanted to give you a background of the background of the changes which we have implemented recently in the system. So as you all would know that GSTR1, GSTR3B, they are the two main forms which are supposed to be filed by the taxpayers, normal taxpayers. And with regards to same, there was a lot of demand from the trade and industry, in order to simplify the process, make it easier for people to reconcile. And in addition, also, there was also demand from trade and industry that to ensure that once a data is reported into the system, they don't have to, enter the same data again, which ultimately ends up in reconciliation related problems that they face. So the GST Council was also very sensitive to this particular, demand of the trade. And in the 39th meeting of the GST Council, which happened on 14th of March 2020, so a few decisions were taken regarding the improvements in the return system, which which were to be made. So I'll just tell you the core decision over here. This is the press release after the GST Council meeting. It is there in public domain. You also can search for it. So in order to smoothen the rollout of the new return system and to ensure a better uptake of new return, transition to the new return system may be made in an incremental manner. The process may be initiated by addressing the compliance related issue first, so that problem of tax evasion and gaming of the system due to non-linking of GSTR1 and 3B is addressed immediately. The journey could start with linking of details of a statement of outward supply GSTR1 to liability in GSTR3B. This would be followed by linking of input tax credit in GSTR3B to the details of supply reflected in GSTR2A. So basically, there were two core messages over here. One was regarding linking of GSTR1 and 3B for the purpose of liability. Another was for the linking of GSTR2A with GSTR3B for the purpose of input tax credit. And both of these data are individually filled by the taxpayers as on today also. But uh, there are too many issues or problems which people have to face: reconciliation of GSTR1 and 3B, then reconciliation of 2A and 3B, and there were also a few issues with that. I'll be taking you through it. So because of that, we have tried to, on the back end, provide you with almost system computed returns to the best extent possible. So before just going through the presentation, just to set the context, I just wanted to discuss the format of GSTR 3B once, which I'm sure you all would be knowing. Uh, so basically, but still at the cost of repetition, I would just take you through it again. So basically, there are two main components of GSTR 3B. One is liability and another is credit. Now, liability is reflected in Table 3. Table 3 is details of outward supplies and inward supplies liable to reverse charge. So any liability which is supposed to be mentioned is captured in Table 3.1, and Table 3.2 is a breakup of details mentioned in Table 3.1, as in supplies made to unregistered person, composition taxable person, and UIN holder. It is basically required for the purposes of settlement of IGST. Settlement as in apportionment of IGST revenue between the central and the state government. So that's why Table 3.2 is also important. So here basically outward Table 3.1 further has 5 subparts. Non-GST outward supplies does not have any tax liability, only the value we have to enter here. Similarly, nil and exempted supplies, only the value we have to enter, and there's no GST related liability. Inward supply is liable to reverse charge. I'll come to it in a moment. Now, then outward taxable supplies which are zero rated, as in export supplies to and supplies to SEZs. So that has to be mentioned in table 3.1b. And because zero rated supplies are treated as interstate, as an export is interstate, supply to SEZ is interstate. So that's why CGST and SGST on the portal is not allowed for this particular entry. Only IGST and cess are allowed. And then all other outward supplies other than those mentioned below. So like all other taxable outward supplies, taxable in the sense GST in the context of GST, other than zero rated, nil rated, and exempted. So on a consolidated basis, um, taxable value and the tax details are mentioned over here. Now, uh, uh, as you would see that all these entries are also captured in GSTR1 except inward supplies attracting reverse charge. So inward supplies attracting reverse charge, this detail is not captured for for the taxpayer in GSTR1. Other than this, all other details are captured in GSTR1. So now what we have started to do, you must be seeing on the portal also, we are providing system computed values for table 3.1 and table 3.2 on the basis of GSTR1. So this is GSTR1. Now coming to credit, and this was regarding liability. Coming to credit, credit again eligible ITC. So this table you can say has four major components: ITC available, then ITC reversed, and net ITC available is ITC uh, ITC available minus ITC reversed. So basically this table 4C, which is net ITC available, ultimately this is the credit which goes into the electronic credit ledger after reversal, net credit. So again, now ITC available, it has five subparts: import of goods, import of services, inward supplies liable to reverse charge. So ideally what happens that a person pays tax over here, inward supply is liable to reverse charge, and then this in an ideal scenario the same value should also come here because the tax has been paid and then the credit is taken. Then inward supplies from ISD, input service distributor, and then all other ITC. So basically all the domestic ITC which is flowing into GSTR 2A has to be mentioned over here, all in the all other ITC table. Then import of services, again it is supposed to be paid on a reverse charge basis. Inward supplies from ISD, it will for those people who have ISD registrations, it will come from GSTR 6. And import of goods is basically the tax paid at the port, the IGST on account of import of goods. So again, so as far as table 4A5 is concerned and 4A4 is concerned, for those people filing GSTR 6, we are trying to provide the values in a document called GSTR 2B, which is actually prepared on the basis of GSTR 2A only. So this particular entry we are trying to provide through this new document called GSTR 2B, which I will be discussing. And very soon we are also trying to make available that once tax has been paid on the port on import of goods, uh, we are also working very aggressively for integrating our database with the customs database. So and that integration is almost complete. It is in final stages of testing. So as soon as that integration is rolled out, we would the data from the custom system, it is called as the IceGate system. The data from the IceGate system would also be flowing in. So we would be in a position of providing data pertaining to import of goods also, and then inward supplies from ISD on the basis of GSTR 6, and then other ITC on the basis of GSTR 1 filed by the counterparty suppliers. Other than these, the two other entries, import of services, it is supposed to be paid on a reverse charge basis. So it will continue to be on self-assessment basis, and then inward supply liable to reverse charge. Again, so that is the tax is paid on a self-assessment basis, as I mentioned in table 3. So keeping this format in mind, I'll just now proceed to the presentation. Uh, Is my screen visible to everyone in full screen mode?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So basically the enhancements in GST Council on the basis of 39 GST Council meeting. So again, as of today, you all would be knowing that we have basically this was the return architecture that we were having. That there is a GSTR1 to upload the outward supply details, and on the basis of this, a document is prepared called GSTR2A, which is an auto-populated system-generated document. So taxpayers are supposed to file GSTR1, and also they are supposed to file GSTR3B return. And as of today, GSTR1 and GSTR3B are not connected to each other. So because of that, it ultimately leads to a lot of issues that values in GSTR1 sometimes don't reconcile with GSTR3B, and people end up making few mistakes also. So because of that, there are ultimately since these are not connected to each other, there are quite a few problems which the taxpayers keep facing. So on the basis of that, in the 39 GST Council meeting, the minutes of which I have discussed with you already. So the council decided to enhance the returns significantly. So significant changes were linking GSTR 1 to 3B, then GSTR 2A to 3B, and in addition to that, many other components also we have taken to enhance the existing return system. So on the basis of that, we have started a new project within GSTN. We have started a new project called REAP, REAP. So it is basically the Returns Enhancement and Advancement Project. So the REAP project. So I'm one of the owners for the REAP project in GSTN. So in that we have taken up actually multiple enhancements of GST returns. So one of the first feature to roll out was the SMS-based nil filing of GSTR 3B, because as per the data that we have seen, around 22% of taxpayers actually end up filing a nil return. And for the purposes of this particular functionality, the nil return is defined as if somebody has no liability to declare and somebody has no credit to claim. So if somebody has some credit to claim, then yes, the person will have to enter the details in table 4 and file the return, even if there's no liability. So, but still there are a large number of people, around 22 to 23% people who actually file nil GSTR 3B. So what they had to do, that even if they had to file nil return every time, they had to come on the portal and file the nil return. So it was a bit cumbersome for them, and it was a compliance cost for such people, even though they had to file a nil return. So we came out with this facility of nil filing of GSTR 3B. And similarly, there were quite a few people who had to file nil GSTR1, but still, they had to come to the portal every time and file a nil GSTR1. So for those people, we have brought out this facility of nil filing. Just by a simple SMS, they can now file the nil return. And then enhancements in GST. Then we are in the existing GSTR 2A also. We have brought in quite a few enhancements. I'll be discussing that in in the subsequent slide also. So in that, like for example, we'll now be giving the GSTR1 filing status and GSTR1 filing date. Then similarly, GSTR3B filing status for that particular GSTR1 month, and GSTR3B filing status we will also be giving. Then if the invoice is amended, in the sense that in GSTR1 it can happen that, like for example, I have two customers, A and B. So by mistake I have mentioned the GST number, the GSTN of B in my GSTR1, whereas I should have mentioned the GSTN of A. So in the subsequent months, I'll go into my GSTR1, I'll amend that invoice, I'll change the GSTN from GSTN to B to GSTN of A. So handling these kinds of amendments, then due date of cancellation, in case if the supplier uh, generates a few invoices and then after that closes down the business. So if the supplier is cancelled, in that case, the effective date of cancellation would also be mentioned now in GSTR2B, in GSTR2A. And then there was a huge demand from trade that they were often facing a lot of issues in reconciling the table 8A of GSTR 9, where data is populated from GSTR 2A. So they were finding it very difficult to reconcile that whether that they were finding it difficult to reconcile GSTR 2A with GSTR 9. So again, in view of that demand of the trade, within GSTR 2A, we would now also be showing that whether this particular invoice would be reflected in GSTR 9 or not. And in case if it is not reflected, then why is the reason that it is not reflected? So we have so this functionality is now already rolled out, and we have received a very warm feedback for this particular functionality. And then, as I told you, IGST paid on import of goods also we will be showing in the system. So again, nil filing of GSTR 3B by SMS. This functionality is already developed. It's already rolled out. So basically, if somebody has no liability of tax, interest, or late fees, or no reverse charge to pay, and there should be no data saved in GSTR 3B. I can hear some background noise, so I request all the panelists to please go on mute. I can still hear the background noise.
Yeah, now it
Who is the admin? Can you?
I've
I'm just checking that.
Yeah, okay.
Now,
So no, yeah, now it's better. Now it's better. Now I'm not hearing that. Yeah, so my screen is visible.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So if somebody has no tax liability, no interest liability, no late fees, no reverse charge liability, and there should be no data saved in GSTR 3B, then and also no ITC to be claimed for this month, then a person can avail this facility of nil filing. And again, why there should be no data saved in 3B? Because often it happens that in one company there are 2 or 3 people, handling tax related matters. There are many companies like that. So it may happen that one person has actually saved data in 3B and the other person may not be knowing, and ultimately by mistake ends up filing nil GSTR 3B by SMS. So in order to avoid such mistakes, we have purposely kept this check in the system that that in case if any data is saved, it will not be allowed. So again, so the process again is very simple. That just write nil space 3B and the GST number and then the tax period. It means the format of the tax period will be means month, and YY means month and 2 digits of month and 4 digits of year. So like if it is November 2025, so I'll just write 112025 and I'll send the SMS to 14409, and then I'll will receive a 6-digit validation verification code that so this code is purposely sent to have a one layer authentication that is the taxpayer sure that they want to file. Because if this and this validation code will be received only on the only the authorized signatories are allowed to do this. So like it's not like anyone can send the SMS and it will work. Only those phone numbers which have been marked as authorized signatory in the in the registration application, they have only they can do this kind of nil filing. So let's say if a new employee joins a company, so the first thing that new employee should do is that add himself or herself as a authorized signatory by doing a non-core amendment. Only after doing that non-core amendment, this kind of facility could be availed. For this, it could not be availed. So again, this is the first SMS, then send a verification code, that the second SMS, and then the return is filed. Nil GSTR 3B is filed. And the ARN would also be generated and communicated. And this same ARN would also be reflected on the portal. And this would actually, and by the analysis that we have done, around 20 lakh nil filers across India stand to be benefited by this functionality. Same is again for GSTR1 also. Again, there should be no data saved or submitted in GSTR1, and there should be no outward supplies, B2B or B2C for that one, no credit debit notes or no amendment for previous supplies mentioned in GSTR1. No advances should have been received for services. In this particular case, again, the we have to just send this message nil space R1. In the previous message, it was R3B. Sorry, it was 3B. Here it is R1. Nil space R1 space GST number and then the tax period. Now in GSTR1, there are two kinds of filers. One is monthly filer and another are quarterly filers. So if I'm a quarterly filer and I want to file a nil GSTR1 for the quarter pertaining to April to June 2020, so I'll just take the last month of the quarter and I'll write over here. So if it is June 2020, I'll write 06/2020. So the message which I'll send is nil space R1 space GST space 06/2020 as a quarterly filer. Similarly, if I want to file for the quarter of January to March 2021, I'll write 03/2021. And again, after that, send it to 14409. We'll receive a confirmation code, and then once on successful filing of confirmation code, nil GSTR1 will be filed. So again, this is how the simple process is. Now coming to this new document called GSTR2B, for availment of credit. So first of all, why was this need for bringing a new thing called GSTR2B? Why was it required? So basically, it was because there were few challenges in GSTR2A. The first thing was that the GSTR2A is a dynamic statement in the sense that let's say if I'm a large business, I have 20 different suppliers. So 15 of them have filed their GSTR1 on time, but 5 of them have not yet filed it. They are filing it delayed. So now they file it over the course of next 2 months. So the GSTR1, GSTR2A which I generate today, vis-a-vis the GSTR2A which I will generate 3 months later, the values will be different because during the time, in meanwhile, more people would have filed GSTR1, and because more suppliers would have filed GSTR1, additional details would start being reflected in GSTR2A. So because of this, the values in GSTR2A are always dynamic in the sense that they always keep getting changed or they always keep getting updated depending on filing by the suppliers. So one issue was that it's a dynamic statement. So if I want to calculate the exact value that I have received in my GSTR2A, that's a challenge. Then GSTR2A as of now, it has both kind of invoices where GSTR1 is filed and even when GSTR1 is saved. So even if GSTR1 is saved but it is not filed, even then the invoices are reflected in GSTR2A. So what happens, it leads to a few mistakes in the sense that let's say my supplier has uploaded an invoice mentioning IGST of 155 rupees. And so on the basis of 155 rupees, I took the credit of 155 rupees and I filed my return. But because that was a saved invoice, next day what happens, what the supplier does, supplier changes that 155 rupees to 150 rupees. Now again the value in my GSTR2A becomes 150. That means that as per GSTR2A now I have taken 5 rupees worth of extra credit. So that is a problem. So these kind of problems trade was facing in GSTR2A because of saved and filed invoices both. In filed invoices, again, the value is certain. Now the values will not change. So and then so then one more thing was that let's say today we are in September 2020. Now let's say today there is a person who is filing GSTR1 for April 2020. So even though I am in September 2020, if the supplier is filing GSTR1 on April 2020 as of today in September 2020, all those invoices would still be reflected in GSTR2A of April 2020 only. So in effectively what will happen, that even though we are in the month of September, but still for taking the credit or seeing that how much credit I have received, or how much invoices I have reflected in, how many invoices have come in GSTR 2A, I will have to go back to April GSTR 2A and open it and see it, that okay, last month the credit reflecting here was 5,000 rupees. Now the credit reflecting over here is 5,150 rupees. That means 150 rupees of extra credit I have received this month. So again, that kind of reconciliation, because the documents are sitting in original tax period, hence this reconciliation was difficult. Then also again, because GSTR2 is always generated on a real time basis, so because of that it took a long time for download also. So all these challenges were there in GSTR2A, and we were listening to it very carefully. So because of that, we have introduced this new thing called GSTR2B. So it is actually generated on basis of GSTR2A only, but it has these following features, that it is a static document, as in it is not a dynamic statement. It is a static statement. What do I mean by static statement? That it is generated on a monthly basis. So and it consists only of filed GSTR1, means whatever GSTR1 has filed, GSTR1 have filed, the invoices would be reflected over here in GSTR2B. And how is it static, I'll discuss in my next slide. And it also tells us that how much credit is available and not available, uh, for those cases where actually the system can tell, oh, that okay, this particular invoice is not eligible for credit. There might be few many other scenarios also where credit may be unavailable, but system will not be able to tell it. But at least where the system can tell it, it tells the taxpayers that where credit is available and where credit is not available. Then because it is not a dynamic statement, so it is not generated on a real time basis. So basically what we do, we generate it, we save it on the portal for you, and you can come and download it from there. So because it is already generated and saved, it downloads very quickly and instantly. And and we have also tried to provide with enhanced filter and search options over there, and we are also providing it in both Excel and PDF formats. So this is the new thing, which is GSTR 2B. And then so basically, what is the concept of 2B and how is it a static document? So I'll just tell you that, let's say that there's a supplier who has to a monthly GSTR1 filer. The supplier files GSTR1 for the month M1, M2, M3. Now, as far as GSTR2 will concerned, the invoices would be reflected in the for the GSTR1 of the month M1. The invoices would be reflected in GSTR2A of month M1 only. So let's say if it is April, May, June, April 2020, May 2020, June 2020. So even if I am filing my 3 of these GSTR1 today, so April 2020 GSTR1 invoices will go in April 2020 GSTR2A. Similarly, May 2020 invoices will go in May 2020 GSTR2A, and June 2020 will go in June 2020 GSTR2A. And this is irrespective of the date of saving or filing of GSTR1. So because of this, as I told you, that filing every 3B, taxpayers literally were going to their every GSTR2A and seeing the additional credit which was getting reflected over there. It was a very cumbersome activity for the trade and industry. So because of that, we have brought in this new thing called GSTR2B. So basically what GSTR2B means, that whatever invoices, whatever GSTR1 are filed between two particular dates by the supplier, they will come and get reflected in GSTR2B. So if I have decided that let's say the due date of GSTR1 is 11th, for example, for monthly filers. So from 12th of previous month till 11th of this month, what all GSTR1s have been filed, they will come and get reflected in GSTR2B. So let's say if there is somebody who is filing April, May, June return in the month of August. So they file it on 21st of August, let's say, or 21st of September, let's say. So all the all the invoices which are getting filed in those GSTR1, they will come and get reflected in this GSTR2B. So now as a taxpayer, I don't have to go to my individual GSTR2A and see the additional or incremental values which I have received. I can simply go to my GSTR2A and find my details over there. Same is so if then again, if somebody files next month, then it will go to next month GSTR2B, and if somebody files in the month after that, then it will go to that month GSTR2B. So now instead of the tax period of filing, GSTR2B is basically dependent on the date of filing. So because of this, the system is now exactly telling you that how much incremental or additional credit you have received as a taxpayer every month, and on the basis of this, you can take a decision that how much credit you want to take in table 4 of GSTR 3. So this is the new GSTR 2B form which we have brought. Then so this was the linking of, you can say, GSTR 2A and 3B with the as decided by GST Council. So this is the linking for the purpose of credit. Then similarly for the purposes of liability, again we have you all must have seen that from August 2020 onwards, monthly GSTR1 filers are seeing a system computed PDF of GSTR1 on their GSTR3B dashboard. So as soon as they file their GSTR1, the system computed GSTR3B is computed on the backend by the system, and it is made available within 2 to 3 minutes on the GSTR3B dashboard of the taxpayers. So now these system computed PDF, of GSTR. So GSTR2B also we are providing in Excel and PDF format. Then also system computed values, as in as per the GSTR1, what value should come and be reflected in GSTR3B, the table 3 of GSTR3B, that also the system has started to tell. So again, for the purposes of credit and for the purposes of liability, for both the purposes, now system is actually suggesting you values as in a PDF format and Excel format in GSTR2B, Excel format also in GSTR2B, that what all values as per the system have been computed and have been made available. So these things again we have implemented, and however there's one challenge with regards to this implementation. So again, for that, actually, as tax officers, as GST and as taxpayers, we all will have to work collectively to address that issue, that there is always a lag between the filing of GSTR1 and GSTR3B. So if I take the data of 17 September, and if I take the data for these months, June 2019, September 19, December 19, March 20, and June 2020. So I have purposely taken these months because in these months, both monthly and quarterly GSTR1 filers file their GSTR1. So like quarterly, for April to June quarter, the quarterly filers will file in June. For July to September quarter, the filers will file in September. So that is why I have taken only these months, which are the end of the quarters. So here I will see that there's always a lag in the between the filing of GSTR1 and 3B. And as we chronologically, as we move ahead, you can see this gap is increasing in terms of percentage. So here, if 86%, these are all India figures. So if 86.4% people have filed GSTR 3B, only around 83% of them have filed GSTR1. So there's effectively a lag of 3.5% over here. And in terms of percentage, it may appear to be small, but when I actually take this percentage, this percentage, if I translate it in numbers, it becomes even higher. It becomes around 3.6 lakhs, and then 3.9 lakh, 5.8 lakh, 12 lakh, 11 lakh. So means these many lakhs of people are those who have filed their 3B, but they have not filed their GSTR1. So if this blue line is GSTR1 and this other line is GSTR3B, you can see there is always a lag between filing of GSTR1 and filing of GSTR3B, and it is because of this lag that there's always a chance that that the supply is not getting reflected in GSTR2B because the GSTR1 is not filed, or since GSTR1 is not filed, the system computed liability in PDF format for GSTR3B that is not getting populated. So this is again like because of this lag in filing, it can actually have some disruption on this particular improvement. So again, so all of us will have to work collectively to address it. So this was regarding the GSTR1 and GSTR3B linking and GSTR2B and GSTR3B linking, which we have brought out recently. Then in addition to that, a few other enhancements also we have brought out on GST portal. One is regarding delinking of credit and debit notes in GSTR1. So, after the amendment of section 34, for multiple invoices, now single credit and debit notes are allowed on the portal. So, so until recently, credit and debit notes were linked to the original invoice in the system. So, as in, if I had to declare a credit note or I have to declare a debit note, I had to report the original invoice details also. So, if I am issuing 100 credit notes, I had to issue the details of 100 original invoices. But now, as per the amendment of section 34, we have made changes in GSTR1 and GSTR6, and from now on, standalone credit note and debit note would be allowed in GSTR1 and GSTR6. So standalone credit note and debit note means that I can report only the credit note and only the debit note without mentioning the original invoice details. So that single credit note would be for one invoice, it can be for multiple invoices. So now this change also we have implemented on the portal, and again we are hoping that things would simplify for the taxpayers as a result of this change. Then because of this delinking of credit and debit note, necessary changes have also been done in the refund module. So all these particular kinds of refunds, as in export of services with payment of tax, export of goods and services without payment of tax, then supply of services to SEZ without with payment of tax, without payment of tax, and refund of inverted duty structure. In all these particular kind of refund use cases, the invoice level details have to be uploaded in the refund statements. So so now and in addition to invoice details, even credit and debit note details have to be mentioned wherever they are applicable. So until now, the refund statements are in a manner wherein only the means if somebody is declaring credit debit note, original details have to be mentioned of the invoice. But now that thing we have changed in the refund statements also, that from now on we would also be allowing standalone credit debit notes in the refund statements also. So this change also we have that has gone live, and now it is available on the portal. Then in addition to that, around 2-3 days ago, we have provided everyone with a very sophisticated matching tool. So this matching tool will enable taxpayers to compare their system generated GSTR2B values with the purchase register which they are maintaining at their own level, their own purchase register. So this would enable taxpayers to identify the errors in invoices in GSTR2B or purchase register, any mismatch in values, like for example, if if my invoice was of 100 rupees, but the GSTR2B, whatever supplier has uploaded, it is mentioning only 90 rupees. So actually I can tell the supplier that this is the wrong details which have been entered over here. Then any missing invoices in GSTR2B, like for example, my purchase register showing me an invoice number 110 from a party X, but my GSTR2B is not showing that. So it would also help me in identifying the missing invoices, and it would assist me in reconciliation. all these details would be, all these, in all these things, the matching tool will help. And we have built this matching tool in such a manner that almost all of our taxpayers, almost 99% of our tax base will be assisted by this matching tool, because it is optimized for a fairly large amount, to handle fairly large number of invoices per month. So I'll just tell you what I'm saying, that we did an analysis in GSTN that on the left hand side you can see that for the taxpayers of different turnovers, like taxpayers who have an annual turnover of 5 lakh, of below 5 lakh rupees, or those taxpayers who have a turnover of 5 to 10 lakh rupees, and then we keep on increasing and we come up till here, the taxpayers having an average turnover of 100 to 500 crore rupees per annum. So for all the different turnover slabs, for the taxpayers pertaining to different turnover, we tried to analyze that what is the average number of B2B invoices that they mention in GSTR1 per month. I'm not talking of B2C invoices. In GSTR1, B2C details means as in the retail invoices, which we call it. They are actually declared on a consolidated basis in table 7. However, B2B invoices means supply to registered persons. B2B invoices, they are declared in table 4. So we tried to analyze that what is the average number of invoices declared by the tax. What is the average number of invoices declared in GSTR1 by taxpayers having different turnover? So it turns out that the average number of invoices for turnover up to 500 crore is not more than 750 invoices. Now again, there may be individual cases. There may be a taxpayer pertaining to this tax slab, 1.52 crore per annum. So instead of 25 invoices, this person may also have 250 invoices per month. Okay, individual cases may be there. But if I'm talking at a national level on a consolidated basis, on an average, for taxpayers up to 500 crores of turnover per annum, they don't have more than 750 invoices per month. And our matching tool, with the matching tool which we have provided, the same data is also there in the graphical format. Like this yellow bar is the number of invoices per month, and this particular trend line is the number of taxpayers. So as you can see, the highest number of taxpayers, they hardly have 2 to 3 invoices per month. Whereas if I go further, up to 500 crores worth of turnover, there are not more than 750 invoices per month. So the matching tool which I am giving you with GSTN is providing you, it is capable of handling much more invoices than that. Means double, triple amount of that. So what I'm saying is that it will benefit almost all of our taxpayers. And for those people who are above this particular slab, they already have the technology. Even today, they are doing the matching without the matching tool provided by GSTN. So they have their own sophisticated technology solutions available with them. And even today, most of them are doing matching. So for majority of our taxpayers, with this rollout of this matching tool, it would actually be a huge benefit for the taxpayers. This is what we are expecting. Also, we would like to hear the feedback after you people have used it. So what all we can do to improve it further, you can let us know. Then another facility which we are going to provide very soon on the portal is a communication channel. So again, GSTN keeps interacting with the trade and industry very frequently. Just like this interaction, we also have had numerous interaction with trade and industry from time to time. So in one of our interactions, one of the tax consultants came up to us and said that whenever my supplier is not uploading an invoice, I either have to call that supplier or write an email, or or do follow-ups and tell that taxpayer to file the to upload the invoice in GSTR1. So instead of me writing an email or making a phone call, why don't you make us a facility available on the portal itself, wherein buyer and supplier could speak to each other through this messaging platform in GST portal, and on the portal itself tell the people that please report this invoice. So it will save a lot of time. So we thought it's a very good idea. Let's implement it. So we are now basically coming up with a communication channel, which you can say it is basically a messaging facility between buyers and suppliers, means supplier and recipients. And so if a recipient has not received a particular invoice, the recipient can just enter the invoice details and send a message to the supplier on the GST portal itself that please upload this particular invoice. So again, this is an optional facility and it is in no way linked to the return. Means it is there is absolutely no linkage between this messaging facility and the return facility. It is just an additional facilitation measure which we are going to give to the taxpayers. So it will be rolled out shortly. It is under development right now. So just to give you a sample screen, so this is basically a sample. I've just requested my technical team to prepare it for you. So somehow on a sample basis, this would something like this. The screen will look. This is not the exact design. So like for example, if I see over here in my messaging facility, in my inbox I have received these two messages. From these two GSTN I have received the message. If I go further, I have received the notification from this person, and these are the invoice details, and these are the comments which the person has written. So like this, a communication facility, can be established between the supplier and recipient. Uh, then other details, other enhancements which we are taking in the return are that we will be providing enhancements in GSTR 2A. I've already told you the customs data, the integration with the customs database that we are going to do. So data pertaining to import of goods and import of goods from SEZ units, that would shortly be available in GSTR 2A and 2B. Then data received from IceGate portal of the Indian Customs, it will be auto-populated in GSTR 2A. And it will assist both the taxpayers also and also the tax officers in conducting their audits. Then also the other enhancements which we will take up in GSTR 2A, I've already told you the filing status and date of GSTR 1 will be mentioning in GSTR 2A. Similarly, the filing status and date of the corresponding GSTR 3B would also be mentioned. If the supplier is cancelled, in those cases, the effective date of cancellation with which the cancellation order is passed, that would be mentioned if it is applicable. So it will not be applicable in all the cases, wherever it is applicable. Then other things that flowing of data from e-invoice to GSTR1. So from 1st of October, GST Council has decided that e-invoicing would be mandatory for all taxpayers above 500 crores of turnover. So everyone who is above a 500 crore of turnover in any of the previous financial year ever since GST came, as in from July 2017, in any of the years, if someone was above 500 crores, is above 500 crores worth of turnover, then that person has to mandatorily do e-invoice now. Otherwise, the invoice itself will not be valid. So, and there are a few sectors which have been exempted. So, other than those exempted sectors, for everyone above 500 crore, e-invoicing is mandatory, and it is actually a very good change as far as simplification of business is concerned, because in the long run, it will remove a lot of inefficiencies from the system, and it will, streamline the system considerably. So effectively, what will happen now that invoice, so one facility which we are trying to provide now is that flowing of data from e-invoices to GSTR1. So invoices reported on the e-invoice portal will flow to GSTR1. So this is again a change which we are working on. And once it flows into GSTR1, then as soon as the GSTR1 is filed, it will also populate in GSTR2B. So effectively, the movement for these people is that all they have to do now would be to report the e-invoice. As soon as they report the e-invoice, data would flow from the e-invoice portal, which is called IRP, Invoice Registration Portal. From the IRP, data will flow into GSTR1. From GSTR1, it will flow to GSTR2A and GSTR2B. So just by reporting of e-invoice, taxpayers would now be getting the pre-populated returns. So again, these are all the changes which are in development as of now, and they will be implemented soon. So again, I'm giving a long-term picture that it will facilitate a lot of work, and it will, reduce a lot of duplication of work. Like as of today, same person has to first report it, first generate the invoice, then that person reports it in GSTR1, then the person does a total and report the same total value in GSTR3B, then again does the reconciliation in GSTR9. So all this duplication of work, which is hassling the tax consultants, it will be taken care of in the long run. All of these, when all these changes are implemented. And then we are also trying to create a vendor master and HSN master for the taxpayers. So all the goods or services they are dealing in, they can just go and store in their HSN master, and what all vendors they are selling they are purchasing from, and what all customers they are and supplying to, they can save all the GST numbers in their particular in this particular vendor master. uh, so whenever they're filing the return, they can just go to their vendor master, choose the supplier, and file the return. So it will save a lot of time, and it will avoid a lot of mistakes also. So then what are the objectives of these kind of initiatives by the GST Council? Is that we wanted simplified compliance for all taxpayers. We wanted the compliance cost to reduce for the taxpayers, and we wanted to address reconciliation issues faced by the taxpayer, and we wanted to avoid the inadvertent errors which happen in the filing of returns. Then we also wanted to wherever people are purposely misusing the system, and willfully willfully entering wrong data to evade tax. So it will also help in checking those people, and also the data quality will improve in the system. It will help in future analytics. Then few other changes in addition to these return related changes. A few other things which we are also working on was for the last few months was e-invoice, as I told you, would be rolled out from 1st of October for all taxpayers above 500 crores of turnover. Then annual GSTR4 for composition taxpayers. Then recently, as you know, from 21st of August, uh, Aadhaar number has been made a part of the registration application. So if somebody wants a quick registration now, deemed approval within 3 working days, then if a person can choose to give Aadhaar number in case of proprietorship, partnership, and HUF entities, and if the Aadhaar number is given, the deemed approval benefit would be available. If the person says that he or she does not want to give Aadhaar number, in that case, the officer will have the option of first doing a site verification of the premises and then approving the registration. So if somebody wants a quick registration, Aadhaar number can be provided and registration would be granted. In other cases, the taxpayer can still declare choose not to give Aadhaar, and then after site verification, the verification of the business premises, the registration would be granted. And then other thing is another scheme which we are working on is know your supplier. So now, as you would know, on the GST portal, there's one particular field of search taxpayer. So for the last around 2 weeks, if you will go to that particular page, you will see that few additional details we have started showing over there. That, for example, what is the principal address of principal place of business, what is the nature of business, nature of goods and services the taxpayer is dealing in. So these particular details, additional details we have started to show over there on the demand of it was a demand of the trade only to show additional details, and also the return filing behavior of the taxpayer is being shown over there. So because of this, these particular things which we have started showing over there, know your supplier facility, you can take an informed decision regarding whether to do business with a particular person. So you can see the return filing behavior, the compliance status of that person, if that person is a timely filer of returns or not. So all those details you can go and check over there, and then so Like it will help the taxpayers in you know we in you know help the taxpayers to not fall into the not do business with people who are less compliant. So like they can take a business decision as per their wisdom. So then then clubbing of refund for financial years, in the sense that as of today, if I have to file a refund application, it has to be in one financial year only. So, like for example, if my procurement happened in February and my export happened in the month of May, so until a few days ago, I could not have filed the refund for the period from February to May. What I had to do was that I had to file one application for February and March, and then one application from April to May. So because of this, these cases where procurement happened in one financial year but export happened in other financial year, people were not able to claim refund for that. So government decided that we'll allow clubbing of financial year in refund applications. So now that change has been implemented, and now somebody can file the refund application from February to May. So this will benefit a lot of people whose refund application was stuck because of this reason. Then functionality to withdraw refund applications in case the order has not been passed. If the order has been passed, then the refund application cannot be withdrawn. But wherever the order has not been passed, even if, including provisional order, I'm saying. So, so wherever the provisional refund order has not been passed, or the final refund order has not been passed, there we are working on a functionality to withdraw the refund application. Then in GST, as you would know, many things are based on the annual aggregate turnover. So, like for example, as you can see over here, e-invoices for people whose annual aggregate turnover is more than 500 crore. So for all those particular things, we would the system computed annual aggregate turnover on the basis of GST at 3B filed by the people in previous financial year, that would be made available on the portal. So now again, few things for which the tax consultants can provide support are, sharing this information with the taxpayers, their clients, and also sharing the feedback with GSTN. That what is your take on these new functionalities? What all can we improve in this further? Because as I told you, like many of the improvements which we have done, they are largely done on the basis of the feedback of the trade only. So the more feedback which we will get from the trade, the better it would be for you, so that you will be aware of the issues you're facing and the improvements you can. Then one more thing is that many people don't know about this. I just wanted to inform you that GST Council has decided to provide free accounting software to all taxpayers of India, all GST taxpayers in India whose annual aggregate turnover uh, is below 1.5 crore rupees. So, around, you can say, 93% of taxpayers have their turnover below 1.5 crore annual turnover. So, all those taxpayers whose annual turnover is below 1.5 crore rupees, GST Council has decided to provide them with free accounting software, which provides them with free services like assisting them in preparing their income tax returns, assisting them in preparing their GST returns, their balance sheet, profit and loss statement, and all these details. So certain basic services are available on free of cost on the portal, and few things are available on a paid basis, on an optional basis. So and it is targeted for the small taxpayers, MSME, micro, medium, and small enterprises below 1.5 crore of turnover. So the more information regarding this, you can see it is there on on the GSTN's website, not the GST portal, the GSTN website, gstn.org.in/empaneled companies. Actually, as per the data that we have, around more than 80 lakh people, 80 lakh businesses should be benefited by this particular facility. But as of now, not more than 2 lakh people are availing this particular benefit. So, so you can actually also tell people or people known to you that government is actually providing this facility free of cost to small taxpayers. So they can take full benefit of it, because the intent of the government is that we should help the businesses, small businesses grow. So so you can just go to this link and uh, take more just get more information regarding this. Then one more thing which I just wanted to make an appeal from GSTN side is that as far as B2C transactions are concerned, it means basically retail transactions. So we are working on a artificial intelligence based software, artificial intelligence based mobile application, which can actually, on which if we scan that invoice using our mobile phone, so the invoice could be read and the GST number could be identified and other details could be identified. So such kind of an artificial intelligence based software we are working on. So any artificial intelligence AI based software actually requires a large amount of data to improve further. So for that, we actually need invoice samples from across the country. So one thing which I wanted to request is that any B2C purchase which you have made recently, grocery, restaurant, household items, electronic item, mobile phones, automobiles, anything is acceptable. Even old invoices are acceptable, and even handwritten invoices are acceptable. So we basically want samples across India. So my request is that whatever purchases you have made earlier or are making even now, if you could just click a photo of that and email it to this particular email ID, invoice.gstn@gmail.com. So it would actually help us in improving our software. And one thing I would like to assure you that nobody is going to track anyone that who is sending what invoice. We will not even retain the record for this purpose. For this particular invoice samples that we are receiving, we will not even retain the record that who is sending what invoice. It is just that we want the invoice sample so that we can improve the system further. So again, my request is that please note this email ID, and if you could send us a few invoice samples, even if we received a few hundred invoices on the basis of today's webinar, it would actually go a long way, in making our software better. So recently, I just wanted to inform you, we have increased the capacity on the GST portal. So earlier, as you would see, that maximum 1.5 lakh people were allowed to work together on the GST portal, and if the number of people was more than that, then people had to wait in a queue. That when people leave, then they could come in. So now we have increased this capacity to 3 lakhs now, and uh, 1.5 lakh we have added additional hardware, and we have done some changes in the software also, and we have increased the capacity on the portal. So from now on, we are hoping that you know you will face with those capacity issues we will not be facing now on the portal. Then one more thing which we have started doing recently is that we have started to we are very active on Twitter, and what all new functionalities come, we upload the designs on the Twitter. So from now on, we have also tried to do multilingual outreach. So earlier our designs were mostly in English, and few of them were in Hindi also. But recently what we have tried to do also, that in addition to English and Hindi, in all the major Indian regional languages, we are trying to do our outreach. So we are trying to do multilingual outreach from now on. So like as you would know, recently GSTR 2B has been rolled out. So this particular design which you are seeing, and there are actually many other designs also. You can see this is another design, this is another design, this is another design, this is another design, and this is another design. So all these particular designs, they are available on our Twitter handle in English and Hindi. But now, in addition to English and Hindi, all the major Indian regional languages, in all those major Indian regional languages, also we have made these designs available. So Tamil, Assamese, Bengali, Gujarati, Kannada, Marathi, Malayalam, So all these regional languages we have, in addition to English and Hindi, we are trying to do our outreach in regional content also, so that the message is spread even more. Like it is not restricted to only English speakers and English readers. So again, so you can do keep visiting our Twitter handle. So as and when new functionalities come in, you will see this over there. So again, before closing, I'll just tell you that we are active on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. All of you would be knowing. So do keep following us on Twitter and YouTube for the latest updates, because as soon as we release some new functionality, we update that on these particular forums. So this was it from my side. Thank you, everyone. Over to you, the organizers.
Sarthak ji, this was really a fantastic and insightful session from your side. We knew that GST network has a good amount of statistics, but this is for the first time we got to know that what kind of statistics is available and what kind of statistics is used from GST network side to make things easier for the taxpayer and especially for the practitioners. We have a few queries, a few attendees have asked queries. So I request Aditya Surte to take up those queries.
So I'll just for your information, I'll let you know that technical queries, to the best of my ability, I'll try to answer whatever I would be knowing. But legal queries, GSTN does not attend to. It's law-related queries or policy-related questions we don't attend.
Yes, sir. It will be your prerogative whether to answer or not to answer a particular.
Sir, we are only trying to take up the queries which we think are only relevant for today's session, which can be which are under the purview of today's session. The first query that has come up from multiple participants, the first two queries are with regard to whether the new returns that were declared, whether they are going to come, and if they are coming, then from which date will they come?
See, actually, that is a decision of the council. So again, I'm not the right authority to be replying to that. The government, it is for the government to decide that whether it is to come and when it is supposed to come. As of now, our as GSTN, our attention is not on that new return system. It is on this REAP project, enhancing the existing return system. So from GSTN's perspective, I can tell you that as on date, our entire effort is to improve the existing system. In future, if the new return system will come, then it is for the government to decide.
Okay. Sir, the next big question a lot of participants have asked is with regard to implementation of Rule 36(4). Now, the difficulty that the taxpayers and the practitioners seem to be experiencing is with regard to first question is whether we should use 2B or 2A now, since 2B has come. So whether we should use GSTR 2B for checking our input tax credit for the purposes of implementing Rule 36(4). That is the first aspect of the question.
See, I will not comment on what you should do or what you should use. However, in my entire presentation, as you would have seen closely, that GSTR 2B itself is created on the basis of GSTR 2A. I've shown you what is the difference. And I have also shown you that what was the earlier challenge in GSTR 2A, because of which a new document on the GSTR 2B kind of a document was required. So now let me take a scenario on the basis of which I think you will get your answer. Let's say that today I'm sitting in the month of September. Okay, today is 19th of September. In 2 days, my GSTR 3B for this month will become due. But today I have a supplier who is filing January 2020 GSTR today. Okay, so let's say 5 days ago I checked my January 2020 GSTR 2A. The credit getting reflected over there was 2.5 lakh rupees. Okay, now today this person, my supplier, files the January 2020 GSTR 1. Okay, and additional 50,000 rupees worth of credit has come. Now today night, if I again check my GSTR 2A of January 2020, this additional 50,000 rupees worth of credit would be reflected over there. Okay.
Yes.
So this additional 50,000 rupees worth of credit I can take as per rule 36.4. Till here agree? You agree till here?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you is that even from the perspective of 36.4, what the taxpayers, the challenge they were facing is that they literally had to go to their each and every GSTR 2A to find out that what is the additional or incremental credit I have received every month.
Correct.
On the contrary, instead of doing this activity, what as GSTN we have tried to do, instead of you doing that activity, we are now giving you a GSTR 2A that on the with this this GSTR 2B, which is telling you that in all your GSTR 2As put together, how much additional credit you have received this month. Okay.
Correct, sir.
So in other words, what I will reply to you is that uh, GSTR 2B and 2A, you can say they are मतलब वो एक ही सिक्के के दो पहलू हैं, means in the sense that they are same face of the they are two faces of the same coin. So you can very well rely on your GSTR 2B for the purposes of your compliance of 36.4 because it is actually prepared on basis of 2A and it is providing you all the information in one complete document.
Yes, sir.
And in addition to that, we have also provided very detailed instructions in GSTR 2B. So,
Yes.
like whenever you will go through that instructions, it will become even more clear that how we have, what on the basis of what principles we have provided this document.
Yes. So the second aspect of this question is this has been a long-standing problem of, I don't know whether you will be able to throw light on this, that for all those taxpayers who are purchasing goods or procuring services from suppliers who are filing quarterly GSTR1, there is a problem that they are not able to
I know
claim
that their credit is not reflected in the first 2 months. So yeah, we are very much aware of that problem, and it's a very genuine problem. And
Yes.
just like as trade and tax practitioner, you are concerned about it. Even we are concerned about it, and we are actually trying to come out with a functionality. Although again, I cannot commit when, but yeah, we are very actively considering some kind of a mechanism wherein this kind of a solution could be addressed, and how it can be addressed, that also we are trying. Maybe let's say that for quarterly filers, let's say that there's a quarterly filer in the middle of the year, that person receives an order. So for that particular 1 month, if that quarterly filer could file GSTR1 on an optional basis, or some kind of a solution like this, we are trying to deliberate upon. So as and when we come out with a solution, we'll come out in the public domain.
Okay. One of our participants has also given his suggestion in this. So if it is useful to you, you can take that note of that also. They've said that instead of having this problem of some of them having a GSTR1 on monthly basis and some of them on quarterly basis, why not ask everyone to file GSTR3B on monthly basis by claiming the input tax credit on a self-assessment basis, ask everyone to file GSTR1 on a quarterly basis, and do the ITC reconciliation on a quarterly basis. So that is one suggestion given by one of the participants.
Yeah. So as I told you, see, this is a very big policy decision which actually only GST Council is empowered to take. I won't be able to comment on the merits of the solution, but yeah. But all I can say over here is that yeah, as policymakers, they are also concerned about this problem, and from technology side also we are concerned about this problem, and we are actively deliberating on it. We are trying to work out a solution for this.
Yes. So in this regard, I would request that if you could provide an email, because there were many suggestions here, even in the questions tab. So if you could provide a communication address where all these participants can send their suggestions, it will be helpful for you also, and their suggestions will also be heard.
Okay. Yeah, just a minute. I'll just hold on. Bear with me for 1 minute. Okay. Any other question you have? Meanwhile, you can take.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Or that was it.
No, there are a couple more. You spoke about the debit note and credit note delinking that has been done. So one question that I had is, you have delinked it from the invoice number whether the GST portal is still validating the date criteria. For example, if for the year 18-19 financial year, the law states that I can raise a credit note or a debit note relating to an invoice relating to 18-19 only up to September of 2019. Now, once this delinking has been done, can a person still report a credit note or debit note for a previous year for which the time limit may have expired? Yeah, we can see the email address.
Yeah. So see, I'll tell you. See, system also has some kind of limitations. So let me take your case only. That let's say that that in let's say in November 2020 you issue a credit note. Okay. Now that credit note could be for invoices pertaining to previous financial year or this financial year. It could be pertaining to, let's say, a few invoices could be pertaining to previous financial year, few invoices could be pertaining to this financial year. So what I'm trying to say is that from a system perspective, I am not in a position of telling that what all original invoices does this credit note pertain to. It is only when
Some connectivity issue.
Cannot able to hear. No?
Yeah. So Sarthak ji is having some connectivity issues. Is Sarthak ji audible here? Raj? Okay. Yes, sir, you are audible.
am I audible, everyone? Can you just confirm? Can anyone please confirm?
Yes, now.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, actually there was some network issue, connectivity issue. Yeah. So what time? Till where did you hear? Can you tell me?
Yeah, with regard to the credit notes, debit notes of previous year, you were talking about the system does not have the functionality to check whether the invoices
Yeah,
of
the
this.
system. Yeah. So no system can actually check that without actually verifying the books of accounts. We cannot tell that whether this credit note or debit note pertains to previous year invoices or this year invoices. What I'm trying to tell you is that without checking of books of accounts, this information cannot be known. And because of this, from a system perspective, we cannot have any checks. But yes, in future, if there is any auditor and if some wrong credit notes have to be issued, the consequential legal action could follow.
Okay. Sir, one another query that has been asked is if monthly filer files his GSTR1 after the due date, how his credit will be reflected in 2B of the buyer if in next month, then we should be
No, so
required.
it will be let's say that that the due date for August GSTR1 was 11th of September. August GSTR1 was 11th September. Now instead of 11th September, I filed my GSTR1 today. So which is 19th of September. So it will be reflected in October GSTR2B. It will be reflected in next GSTR2B. So like if so again, as I told you, GSTR2B is dependent on the date of filing. So whenever I file my GSTR2B, it will be whenever I file my GSTR2A. No, sorry. Whenever I file my GSTR1, on the basis of that, in the corresponding GSTR2B, it would be reflected depending on date of filing.
So that means if a person wants to verify his,
it will reflect in September 2B, not October 2B, sir.
Okay, yeah, September 2B, sorry. Means
yes.
corresponding to be my message over here is that wherever I share it, whenever I show it in the corresponding GSTR 2B, it will be shown. This is what I'm saying, depending on the
Okay.
date of my file.
So a person wanting to verify or reconcile his input tax credit that he's claiming as per his books of account and the one that is appearing in his 2B, in the case, the example that you have given, may have to download the GSTR 2B of August and September and then verify considering both, because some part of that, those invoices will be appearing in the next 2B. Is that correct, sir?
So yeah, if the supplier is filing late,
Yeah.
then the problem might be there. But again, as I told you, that if the supplier is not filing, if the supplier is filing late, anyways, as per 36(4), I cannot take the credit today. I can take the credit only when the supplier files it. So instead of going back to every GSTR 2A, I can just download the GSTR 2B for that month, and that's it. My work is done. My GSTR 2B will tell me everything, that what the credit am I supposed to take.
GSTR 2B is actually useful to, if for a person to comply with Rule 36(4).
Yes, it is actually useful. It is actually
because 36(4) speaks about the invoices uploaded as on a particular due date, and this is where the 2B is getting generated.
yes.
Okay, sir, last two questions with regard to matching tool that you have spoken about. It seems to be a very useful utility. Thank you for informing all of us about that. We will download it and all of us will check and give you the feedback. One question is whether that the offline tool is purely offline or whether any data will get uploaded anywhere on the GSTN portal.
It is purely offline. It is purely offline. And so what you can do is that you can download your GSTR 2B in JSON format, or in whichever format the portal is providing you, and import your purchase register into the offline tool and match it over there in the offline tool. And this is completely offline, in the sense that for the purposes of doing matching, you don't need to be connected to an internet. So let's say that you download your 2B and then take it in the pen drive and then go to some other computer which is not connected to internet, and over there you do this matching, then it will work completely.
Okay, sir. So yes.
Yeah,
Anyone?
Aditya, can I? Yeah.
Yeah, please,
Yeah.
Mr. Mehta.
Yeah. Sir, I just want to know, suppose if I file my 3B and I have taken the input query based on GSTR 3B, say for example, September month. Now, when I'm going to file my October return of 3B, from GSTR 2B, can I able to know which are the credit now available to me? Taking the credit, already I have taken the credit in September month. Now, what are the additional credit available to me? Can I able to know, or I have to take a full reconciliation again?
No, the GSTR 2B of the next month will tell you the additional invoices that have come in.
So we come to know how much the additional now available to us, right?
Yeah, we will come to know how much additional invoices are.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sir, one of the participants has asked if the outreach the material that has been posted on your Twitter handle, can it be used to educate our clients or the taxpayers?
Yes, please. That is why we make it available in public domain. This multilingual project, this multilingual outreach that we have started, actually, that is something which is very close to my heart personally. I actually have requested with the active support of our tax offices across India. So they have assisted us a lot in doing the translations, and now we are hosting it. And the entire purpose of GSTN and all the tax departments is that this outreach content should be available in maximum possible languages to maximum number of people. Yeah, so please, whatever content is there, please go ahead and use it.
Sir, can this content on Twitter be made available in one place, on just like the GST flyers were made available on the CBIC website? Can these be made available in one place on the GST network's website?
Okay, this is a good suggestion. I'll explore it internally. If it is possible, we'll do it.
Sir, I will only ask one last question because there are many, and I will request the participants, because there are some of them are relating to issues with the GST portal but not connected to today's session. So I would request the participants to, if they have any suggestions or issues in particular cases, to take it up with Sarthak ji. He's already shared his email address. Sir, in GSTR 2B that we downloaded, we are seeing that there is a section for ITC available. There is also another section for ITC not available. Could you just shed some light on what is this section of ITC not available, and then we can
Yeah,
probably...
okay. I'll tell you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So see, where all the system can tell, as in system has the, you can say, the ability or the technical ability to know that ITC is not available. In those cases, the system is telling. Like, one is the limitation that after September, the invoices of the previous financial year, the credit is not admissible. So depending on the date of invoice, the logic can be built in into the system that yes, these particular invoices are not eligible. One is that limitation. I think the other limitation is for those cases where the place of supply is in some other state. Like, I'll give you an example. If I'm based out of GSTN in Delhi, and if I happen to come to Mumbai and I stay in a hotel, so the invoice, as per the place of supply rules, even if I provide my GST number, the invoice will charge me CGST and Maharashtra SGST. Okay, but my Delhi-based GST registration cannot take the credit of Maharashtra SGST. It can
Yes, yes.
I can take the I can only take the credit of Delhi SGST in Delhi. I cannot take the credit of Maharashtra SGST in Delhi. So wherever these cases are there, that supplier is located in some other state, whereas the SGST charged on the invoice is of some other state or UT. So these two particular cases, one is that case that where the section is hit by the time barring limitation, that after September the previous year's invoices are not eligible, and second, in those cases where the SGST or UT GST is pertaining to some other state or UT. These two particular cases are mentioned over there in available or not available. However, there might be other cases also which are not covered here. So on that, self-assessment would still apply. Like, for example, items for personal use. Now, if somebody is purchased something and something has been put to personal use, then credit of that is not available under GST. So that self-assessment would also have to be done, because GST system will not be able to tell that whether that particular item was put to personal use or not.
All right. Thank you, sir. Sir, one last question I have is, GSTR 2B has been made available, and it is only recommendatory in nature for the taxpayers' guidance. Is it mandatory that the GST ITC should only be taken on the basis of 2B?
No, as on date, there is no such statutory limitation. It is, again, I've been emphasizing it time and again. These are additional facilities and additional features which we have provided to the taxpayers to comply with the existing laws. As you would see that no new rule has been changed to, or no new statutory provision or legal provision has been inserted to implement these changes. These are just additional facilities which the portal is providing to comply with the present legal framework.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. You have.
Yes, and before we close, I would just request all the all the panelists and all the senior members of the GST PAM, to please assist GSTN with this retail invoices, B2C invoices, which I have told you. So
yes,
I have
sir,
told
yes,
you. So again, I just wanted to clear any apprehension that it is in no way done to do any kind of assessment, any kind of tracking. The only intent for this particular email ID is that get more and more invoice samples from across India in different languages, and in different places across India. Different people have different invoice issuing practices. Some people write invoice number in the bottom, some people write invoice number in the top. So all these kind of different invoice practices we just want to know. And if they don't want to send us directly, so I'm even completely fine that if, say, Mehta ji or Mr. Shah or Mr. Aditya or any one of you collect it up, you call it from your friends, family, clients, and you send it to me on a consolidated basis at that email ID. Even I'm comfortable with that. I just need invoice samples.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
We will ensure
that. One request from my side that I'm hoping your support.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Yes, sir. You can definitely counter us.
There is one suggestion. The GSTR1 offline utility is working only on a Windows system. It is not working on Apple Mac laptops. So this is where a few of the members were facing problem.
Okay. Thank you. I'll take this feedback. I will share it with my team and I will look into it.
Yeah, and there is one more suggestion that the TDS TCS acceptance returns the LUT application is not available without a DSC for companies, whereas in the lockdown period, return filing procedures were allowed with EVC and without DSC, but that was
Actually,
not
okay, I got your point. So actually, for that return filing and GSTR1 filing, specific legal provision was introduced because for companies and LLPs, as you would know, DSC is mandatory. So a specific notification or legal provision was introduced to allow DSC EVC based filing for them. So again, this is a policy call which the government has to take that whether they want to allow DSC based filing or not. So we'll EVC based filing or not. So we'll escalate with the government and like whatever decision we are communicated, GSTN will implement.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you,
Sir,
sir.
regarding the invoice sample email that you have provided, one of the participants has raised a query that that it is generally understood that only to communicate with the government departments only a .gov or .nic email is used. Sir, you have given a Gmail address, so would it
Yeah,
be
it is again. I'll tell you, it is purposely done for the fact that many people have this apprehension. If GSTN is asking, it is now we'll use these invoices to do assessments against them. So so it is again to reassure people that the purpose for this particular activity is just to get invoice samples. So like अगर GOV का email ID अगर मैं like without knowing the context, even if I would have told you, you probably would have asked that why are you asking invoices on a GOV ID? Like what is your future intent? So like I just want to make sure that I just want to allay any apprehension that as of now the intent is only to get invoice samples so that we can have maximum invoice templates and we can train our artificial intelligence based software better.
Sir, here the catch was as of now.
Huh?
Here the catch was as of now. The intent
no. This is not a catch. Okay, I'll clarify that. What I'm trying to say is that as of now, what I meant is that this particular email ID, why I'm requiring is that as of now, the purpose, what I meant was that this ID or these invoice samples I require only for improving my software, nothing else. After that, I will probably delete it. I will not even retain it probably. So the intent is to improve the software. So that's why I said that, like if still you have 200 clients, but they are very scared. No, we don't want to send to GSTN. So they can send it to you. You can send me 1,000 invoices put together. Even that is fine to me. So like if people are nervous in that sense.
Sure.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes.
May I now ask Raj? Can we go ahead with the vote of thanks?
Yeah, just a minute. Sarthak ji, we are delighted to inform you that more than 400 participants attended today's session.
Okay. Very good to hear that.
Members are really happy with the data, the statistics which have been shared from your side.
Many compliments in the questions tab also for the excellent presentation and explanation.
Thank you very much.
One more thing which I would like to highlight is that yourself coming from engineering background, but your command on the taxation aspect has also been appreciated by many members.
Thank you very much.
Now I request Parth Badeka, Joint Convener of Law and Representation Committee, to formally offer a vote of thanks to Sarthak ji Saxena.
Parth, you need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted by the organizers. Sarthak ji, what can I say? Just like our president said that when the session actually started, there were about 200-220 people, and then like in the movie Dhoni, like Mahi maar raha hai, So a lot of people start coming, and that is why the moment you started speaking, sir, there were the numbers went through the roof. And the reason for that is that the openness and the propensity to change of the GSTN was very much there. The willingness to actually assist the taxpayers, there could be differences, but that willingness is very much there. And to have someone of such a high caliber come and tell it to us has been a great pleasure to listen to. We thank you from the bottom of our heart for coming and sharing these valuable insights. And I hope in the future also, any further changes and anything that happens, we will always have you to share your knowledge. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for this.
Thank you very much, sir.
We officially conclude this session now.
Okay, thank you.